Welcome to Bay Rats and Buoys Season 2 with your host, Captain Gaige.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. I'm your host, Captain Gaige. This is episode number 42, Season 2, On the Boat, brought to you in part by Seatow Huntington. Are you a member? Visit seatow.com to join today. And the Fisherman Magazine, my favorite subscription to get in the mail. And Clicks Fueling. Visit clicksfueling.com. What is up, guys? It is a beautiful day down here. We're definitely getting some rain today. So there was a certain window to get down here early and squeeze it in. And I'm down here sitting on the boat. So no complaints. Yesterday, I was back in the studio because we got some construction going on. And a lot of big things, a lot of great things going on. So this summer was an awesome summer fishing-wise, charter-wise. Weather-wise, it sucked. You know, a lot of people, right now it's a little too hot for people to get out there and sit on a boat and fish, just like, that's how it is in Florida. And right now, while I sit here, the little snappers are jumping out of the water, harassing all the tiny spearing that we have, and there's just a plethora of bait around. You know, we've thrown the cast net every week just to see what size they're at, and they were just tiny. We were getting bigger ones out in the bay and along the beaches with the cast net while we were out there fishing, so we'd see the bait, we'd throw the net and get live bait in the bucket, and they were bigger than the ones that are back here in the harbor. But there's a lot of life. I'm watching things jump out of the water, and it's always cool to see. I wish the Blues were in here harassing. I mean, you're a month away from the WIC tournament, right? And not even, it's right around the corner. I can't believe it's August already. This is the last day. It's July 31st. Today is the last day of July. 2025 is in the books. And coming up, you got the Hamptons Shootout. I saw Rich Lucas made a really good video for the tournament. He put it up on Instagram and their social media feeds. And it's Hamptons with an S. HamptonsShootout.com is the website to go to. That tournament is happening Monday through Friday. The captain's meeting is on Sunday at Sundays. And it's 5 to 8 p.m., so if you want to hit the captain's meeting, you want to register for that. I think they have over $38,000 in guaranteed prize money. You got a 38-hour window to get out, or you could take 2 19s and go out. So you could do a 38-hour overnight, or you could do 2 19s. It doesn't matter if you're driving a battle wagon or a center console. They got categories for everybody. And the tournament is benefiting big brothers and big sisters. So that's going down August 11th to the 15th. So if you want to get in on that, head over to HamptonsShootout.com. And you heard it right here. And, I appreciate the guys in my marina because when I walk down, even today, people are complimenting the podcast. They love what's going on and how it's done and whatnot. And, I really do appreciate the kind words. It's always nice to hear. It is. But we know that, I know, and I say we because there's, a lot of people that, we speak to on a daily basis that are involved in what's going on with Bay Rats and Buoys. And we have figured out, as we show stuff on the podcast, people go and purchase these things. They do. They listen. They want advice. They want to get tips on what they could use because we all know that gulp stinks. We recommended the bait mule. And ironically, Bait Shop just so happened to make a video on Instagram about the bait mule being in stock. So is that a coinkydink? I doubt it. So point being is people are listening. And when you recommend products that are good for certain things, people go and purchase those products. So maybe you can or can't get it here locally from certain shops because I did speak to local shop owners that said they really weren't getting a price break from that company. So to carry it, they would actually have to charge more than you would get on and there's always shipping and handling involved when you're ordering stuff. So it's got to be monetarily beneficial to any of the shops. I understand that, so maybe that's something bait mule. I mean, they're out of New Jersey, from what I see on the sticker when I saw the actual product. That I believe they're a New Jersey-based company. So maybe they want to reach out to the tackle shops and get them some of the wholesale bait mules so they can sell it to us, because that is definitely a great item to have for fluke fishing or for gulp, period, which, 90% of the time we're using gulp for fluke. But can you use it for other species? Absolutely. It works. It does. Kory has tasted it. He says it tastes sweet, smells like cat piss, and I want nothing to do with it. And that's that. I'd much rather use live bait or, fresh bait. But, if we can throw the cast nets prior, like we were going to go Wednesday. So tonight we had a night chunking charter that obviously the weather's coming in. There's a nice weather system coming in. So we've had to reschedule that. But when we have a chunking trip or any fishing trip for that matter, me and Kory will make a day where we're basically just going out there and bait fishing, where we're going out and, so we're throwing, different size cast nets all over the place and getting all different kinds of bait, which is, it's always cool. To me, that's fun. As a kid, I loved doing that from the beach at Ashroken. I'd sit in the waves and, you create a little pool as the tide went out and you'd be putting all the starfish and the sandpipers and all the different fish that you'd see into the little pool that you had and hang on to them as long as you can. And hopefully you didn't kill anything. Because that wasn't the goal. It was just to check them out. But, things died. It happened. But it was cool. As a kid, that's what, that was fun. And you got to get the kids involved. And I say that because we all go back to any of us that have fished as kids, we all go back to the childhood memories that we have. When I passed the Northport Town dock, I remember a class trip to the floating dock when Ron Williams fell in the water, and his father was like the head of the thing. And it was like, he was the guy in charge, and it was like his kid fell in the water. And, it was, you remember that, you go snapper fishing with bamboo poles. I mean, how many people do that now? We saw yesterday, we were actually in a big fishing store, and we saw rods that, for the little kids now. So I grabbed one and I said, look, you wouldn't even see me holding this because it was a camouflage rod. And they had all kinds of, spin casters on there and different stuff for the kids. And I say that to get the kids involved. And we all go back to, our childhood memories of being a kid fishing here locally and going on fishing trips. I remember fishing the pier in Deerfield Beach, catching blue runner, while guys were hooking into seagulls, casting out, and people were catching barracuda and hitting them with bats. I mean, so, this is what I witnessed and saw in my fishing as a kid, and fishing the lakes in Florida, because my parents had property in Florida. So it was always that was always the thing to do in the wintertime, was we were down in Florida and we were catching peacock bass and all the fish that are, and seeing alligators and all kinds of crazy stuff in the lakes you were fishing. My Uncle Ernie warned me many a times, don't reach into the water for nothing. Doesn't matter what it is. There's nothing worth that half of your arm or potentially going into the alligator death roll with one of those alligators that's lurking in a foot of water that you don't even see. And those are serious ambush predators. But he put that in my brain, right around the same time we saw Jaws, which we were just laughing about. One of the greatest movies ever made, ruined it for a lot of people. And I just heard a funny story from one of the captains I'm going to be heading offshore with this week. So like I said to you, we're going to get in on the tuna bite. And we are going to spend some time on the South Shore now to go check out, see what we could do is get on tuna with the poppers, popping and jigging them. Even on this boat, we're going to head to the South Shore and do a little tuna fishing. So that's always exciting, but we were recently invited offshore a couple times, and, really it's a matter of timing for me whether or not I can take off of work, whether I have charters scheduled, because we've really this is the busiest season we've had so far, by far, without a doubt. It's been a busy year, and even with my other schedules and things that I do, got to take off. And that's usually the hardest part from what I'm understanding from guys that are planning the trips offshore to get off for a day or two and pull the overnighters is getting 4, 5, 6 guys together that can actually say yes, commit to it, stick to it, and get out there and do it and not be the guy that bails. unfortunately, I'm going to be the greenhorn. I am going to be the greenhorn on the boat. I'm the green guy. You know what I mean? Did I catch a blackfin tuna? February, yes, I did. Am I a tuna fisherman? No. Am I going to learn? Yes. And that's the reason for going offshore with the guys that I will be going offshore with, is because I want to learn from the best. That's how I do it. Told you in last week's episode, it was worth taking snowboard lessons early in the morning before anybody went on the mountain to learn how to snowboard. And I just believe in, my kids go before school to take ice hockey and skating lessons, and it's like, I believe in learning the right way. And to me, that's real important, because once you learn how to swing a golf club the right way, you could always fix it when you get the ips. And everybody gets the ips. It happens. It happens to the best pros in the world. They don't have that same golf swing forever. They're always refining it. How many trainers did Tiger Woods and everybody go through? I use him as an example. But even Rory McIlroy and all these guys, they're coming to Long Island. The Ryder Cup is coming our way. I think a basic cheap ticket is like $1,300 for the day. And I will be at the Ryder Cup. There's no doubt about it. The studio where I work, that office is packed with golf fanatics. They're on the golf course today. They were on the golf course yesterday. And, between the memberships of country clubs and all the golfing that they do, it was nice to still see my sticks were still in the bag at the studio. So at least I saw most of them. And we do have chipping competitions and all that fun stuff. I do happen to have a fun work environment, no matter where I am, whether it's on the boat, whether it's the tow company, whether it's at the studio, whether it's at ISM for the marketing company. Big things are happening there as well. That's going to be launched and announced in September. So we're almost there. Tomorrow's August. So there's a lot of big things happening. Even yesterday I was dealing with the boat show. Guys, the New York Boat Show is January 21st. We're working on that now. And I can tell you now, this year, moving into that, that's going to be an amazing second-year experience, because we know what we needed to revamp and do from year one. So that was cool. That happened. And, same thing with the striped bass tournament. We learned. It was a learning experience, but we pulled it off. We did the first one. It's in the books. The first one is in the books. I even told you the mistake I made by not having the year on the Grand Prize trophy, because I thought the 2025 emblem was built onto it, and it was the first. The other trophies that were first place all had 2025 on them, so that was my one mistake. So even Eric and Mike said that, now that makes this one more valuable. And it's true, it does. So, but I'm always willing to admit, we make mistakes. We're people, we're human. It happens. Even boating-wise, things go wrong. We make mistakes. And we're always fixing things, the screws of this. But the point about the tournament was, we're going to be working on the tournament for June, starting in January. And we're going to make it an epic event here in Huntington in June. And we're excited about that. But to my point being, yesterday we were working on the New York Boat Show, which is January 21st. So there's a lot going on with the construction at the studio and a lot of fun things happening. A few big purchases in the near future. Things are going on. It's time for growth, and there's always room for growing. And I'm excited about next week, getting out there and making some fun videos to show you of catching some tuna and some of the great stories that I've heard already, of how, Jaws, the movie, has ruined it for a lot of us. You feel even a little bump under the water while you're in 5 feet of water, and you feel it, and right away you think, you you think it's a shark. And meanwhile, it was just a rope from the boat, which we call line. You're not supposed to call it rope, but when they told it to me, they told me that the rope hit them in the leg. And I'm really just repeating how they told it to me. But I make fun of people that say that they have rope on a boat. So we always said, when we taught people, when we trained them, we said, you go to Home Depot, you buy rope, you throw it on a boat. It's no longer rope now, it's line. And that still holds true. It's line. There's no rope on a boat. Anyway, the clouds are coming in, got dark, got a little darker, but with that darkness brings cloud cover, brings a little coolness. It has been so hot in the past couple of days just down here. Me and Kory, we're building and constructing a few things as we move into the season. And it was so hot. I mean, I got to say, I think we picked two of the hottest days to be out here doing it, but I'm out here anyway. I'm down here. I got to be down here. It was one of those straw hat kind of days where the heat was just so intense. You were wetting your head. You didn't even care, and jumping in was almost an option. And at 75 degrees, the water temp's really, that's refreshing enough. 75 is at least refreshing enough. It's not the 80-degree pool. And we're waiting on the Blues. The North Shore, somebody else I was speaking to, so we happen to be speaking to two South Shore fishermen. Me and Kory were at this place in Smithtown, and we're talking to two guys, one that runs a single-engine Parker and heads off to get the tuna fish, 50 miles offshore, close, out of Jones. And one of the other guys was a surf caster, fishing religiously on the South Shore. And we were talking about they actually had said they believed that the striped bass all made a left turn and came from, out of the Raritan Bay area. They made a left and came to the North Shore, which is something we've joked about all season because the striped bass are still here. They're still in the area. Everybody that's going out targeting them, it's a little harder to find them. They're a little more finicky when they're chewing, but they're definitely still here, and that's just a great sign. So we were talking about it with these guys, how they had, very little striped bass on the South Shore this year. Now, I can say from past years, come November, end of November, and even into December, I think late November, I was going on the Laura Lee, and jigging striped bass. And, they're all right there, along Fire Island. And, birds working, tons of boats out there drifting, doing it. And that was that's every year. That's you can almost bank on that. They can guarantee it, And, I mean, it's fishing. You really can't guarantee or, bank any of that intel. But, the cycles that are going on, like how come the South Shore didn't get as many striped bass as we did this year? Did they all really make that turn, Did something scare them in? Were the seals, what did it? What caused it? And the bluefish, we know it's coming into that time of the year where we were catching just a week ago more cocktail blues. But we're really not seeing a strong bluefish bite. I'm not seeing them chasing the bunker into the back harbor. Usually now around August is when I would see the adult bunker, swimming in the harbor here in circles in the marina where we throw the cast net. And guys, if you've seen any of the social media feeds, some of those cast net videos, those are the ones that go most viral. So if you want to make a viral video, go teach somebody how to throw a cast net. And have fun doing it. It's a ton of fun. But I'm just not seeing the bait, the adult bunker. And everybody calls and asks. And the good news is I do get to drive around to a lot of different areas, especially on the towboat. And I do get to see in those different areas pods of bunker. So when someone says to me, have you seen the bunker? I say, yeah, I have. And I did. I just saw a nice pot of them right outside Oyster Bay in the Sound, just south of the 17 can. And it was nice to see. But am I seeing tons of them? No, I'm not, not big pods, not football fields. But they'll be here, and, the Blues are coming. The Blues, I say it every August, that WIC tournament. We all enter the WIC tournament. We get out there, and it's always on the Connecticut side and east of us that are on the top 15 of the top 15, 10, 15, 20 people in the leaderboard. That it's always a lot of Connecticut and Peconic, So we said we're going that way. We're coming that way, boys. We're coming. We're going to give it a whirl, Anything to better the chances. Like I said, we wanted to enter all the tournaments this year, or a lot of them. And, dates that they happened on, and, it's just not possible. Like, how many of my friends and, close boaters that, fishermen that I'm really good friends with that couldn't make it to the tournament because kids have lacrosse, kids have this, camp, this, all these fun things that get in the way. I get it. It happens to me too. And that's why I'm really excited about it. I don't care what happens. Like yesterday in the studio, they brought up something about next Wednesday. And I said, listen, it could happen, but I'm just telling you, if the offshore invite is for Wednesday, then it's not happening in the studio. And I'm just, we're leaving the window open for the offshore trip. And that's that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So I'm pretty excited about that. And last week, I showed you the bait mule, and every week I like to show you guys some stuff that we use or, helps us, on the boat, benefits us in some sort of capacity or protects us and does something for us. And, I've shown you the handheld VHF radio and stuff like that because, we saw kids sitting on the side of a boat. The father that was on the boat was sitting in the back, very lax. The kids were driving the boat around. They were definitely over 10. They were old enough to drive the boat around. They looked young. They looked 11, 12, 13 tops. Okay? And they can do that. Okay? And so Dad was letting them drive the boat. They were not an issue. They did not have, just because they passed you, 10, 15 feet away from the boat, it wasn't an issue. They didn't do anything wrong. But what I did notice is that they were sitting on the gunnel of the boat with their feet over the side like they're sitting on a stationary dock, which is something they look like they were pretty comfortable doing with a rod in their hand and drifting. So, just going to put it out there. It's not the smartest move in the world because there are so many things that can go wrong. Like you just have this notion that your boat is going to start. Let's say the engine's off and you're drifting. They fall in the water, you go to fire it up, it doesn't start. Now people around you have to come to your aid and assist you. Do you trust these other people around you with their engines and your child in the water? Have they done man overboard drills? Have you done a man overboard drill? Do you know what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it? So we see it all the time where people will be towing. And again, I don't post pictures of it. I don't show you who is doing it. I really just tell you about it. And there's good reason for that. So even here in the harbor, I've seen towables leave here with kids on the back of the towable with the towable 3 feet by the engine, just 2 feet right off the stern. Not back, not sent back 10 feet, right next to the stern. And kids were sitting on it to pull it out. And people sitting on the bow of the boat, dangling their feet over. It's less than 3 seconds from the time you go over that bow of the boat to the time you hit the engine. And the reaction time for that has to be perfect for you not to get injured. It's like so many things. So when we see stuff like that, usually, I know from our local area, the harbor masters are going to react because that's child endangerment, which is, that's a crime. So you're committing a crime on your boat when you allow that to happen. So if you see anybody doing that or you know anybody that allows kids to do that, put a stop to it and just tell them, listen, there's no reason to sit there. It's not. You can get killed. You shouldn't be sitting there if you're going to get killed. And like I said about the man overboard drill, people haven't even done the man overboard drill and don't know what to do. They're just going to drive over and try to grab the person the best that they can. That's what they're going to do. And that's not always going to work. And people don't realize how strong the currents are. That, let's say he got his line wrapped up in the prop and falls in the water trying to fix it. He's gone. And you can't start your engine because now you have this line that's wrapped up that maybe stopped it from spinning. There's so many scenarios I can throw at you that, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm just painting a picture of, why when things go wrong, they go wrong fast. So every week we talk a little bit about some sort of safety issue and something. And, I'll show you some products, things that help me on the boat. You all know my Diet Cokes. I got a new Yeti. The zipper broke on the old one. That zipper's going back to Yeti. Let's see if they stand by their lifetime warranty. But for good reason, fishing and being a captain, you always have to. I have a couple pair. You got to have a pair of binoculars. Whatever brand you like, whichever ones fit your face, whichever ones you like, price-wise, doesn't matter. You definitely should have a pair of binoculars on your boat for a lot of reasons. And I don't think I need to go through all the reasons why you should have it, but just good advice. Keep a pair of binoculars on your boat, especially if you're a new boater, because you're not even going to know what those cans say and mean from a distance. So you could be heading right into the rocks, and there could be markers on there that are telling you these are rocks, and you could see it way before you get there if you had a pair of binoculars, and you saw that there was an orange diamond on that white can. You would know. Let's stay away from that area. It's clearly marking rocks. Then, this is my favorite because somebody's actually saw a picture posted and said, would you like fries with that? And yes, when you put it on, it actually looks like you're in the drive-thru of McDonald's. So I always say, would you like fries with that? But this Bluetooth Parrot headset is one of my favorite devices to have on the boat because I can operate my boat and drive 35 miles an hour up on plane with this on, and I can talk to you on my cell phone, and it sounds like I'm sitting at my desk because it has like 90-something% noise cancellation, and it's way better than a pair of AirPods that you might have in your ear thinking that that's going to do the noise canceling and be able to talk. They're not this. When I talk to you driving my boat fast, you don't know that I'm on my boat, and this is huge for me for a lot of reasons. When I'm out there and I got to go somewhere and get some direction, if I'm not getting a Latin longitude or I'm speaking to somebody and I'm honing in on their location or just talking to somebody while I'm driving the boat, these are my absolute favorite. I think they're the Blue Parrot. Yeah, it's called the Blue Parrot headset. They're not cheap. They're not expensive. They're priced right. And I highly recommend these. I use them for a lot more than just on the boat. But, yeah, you can see. And my favorite sunscreen. Voila! I usually order a case of it, and it lasts me. I'm good for the season. This is actually the bigger can. And you notice it's not the banana boat sunscreen because I made a video of no bananas on the boat. And people always ask, what's the banana rule? Why? Why no bananas? Maybe we'll have a whole episode just about bananas because we're going to be dressed up in banana costumes catching fish when fishing is bananas. So, there's my coconut clear spray. Love this stuff. It's my favorite. And obviously, because I'm such dark complexion, it's a necessity. And I recommend it, love using it. And I'm going to make a funny video showing you the wrong stuff that I've sprayed on my face. And it's actually up in the office, and I should spray it on my face and show it to you. I recently saw a funny video where someone did something very similar, and it was a very funny video. So we're going to start posting a lot of videos closing out the summer now that we've had an epic fishing year so far. I can only expect the fall run's going to be just as good. At least we hope it is. And everybody's going to be excited that the tog season shows up and the tog are here, and then they go tog fishing, and then the season comes to a close. I'm probably going to pull the boat out a little earlier than usual. I've been sticking around. I almost feel I've been in a little longer than I should be. So this year, mentally, it's already on the calendar that I'm kind of preparing earlier. In fact, we're working something out now because we plan on doing a few things during the winter, so I'm going to figure out a good time to get this baby out and start working on it early so that first week of April, we're ready for splashdown. So, again, just the preparation all year. We're actually going to pull it out this week and do a little stuff, like a mid-season clean and just check on stuff. We did meet a cool company. We were out in Montauk called Diver Now, and I showed you videos of them in the Montauk Canyon Challenge, how they get down under the boat and scrub it with a brush. Me and Kory can actually pull the boat out and just clean and make sure. But we use it so much that, really shouldn't have. Every time I pull it out to say, hey, I'm going to clean it, I recently just scraped the trim tabs down, and we always say we're going to pull it out and clean it. Then we pull it out at the ramp. We're like, it really doesn't need it, So, but we're going to pull it out, at least take a look at it. And our goal was to, clean it, maybe give it a fresh coat of bottom paint, and call it a day. So we'll see. We'll check it out. But 30 minutes of episode number 42. I can't believe we are just 10 weeks away from our first anniversary. It'll be 1 year and 10 weeks that Bay Rats and Buoys has been consistent and put an episode out every single week. So hopefully the next 10 weeks we could do the same thing sitting here on the boat. That's the plan. It's happened thus far. We've had a couple of days that have shifted around, and you have a few days that I put it up on Friday. I know it says it's going to be up there at 6 o'clock on a Friday, and I greatly appreciate everybody that listens and watches. I do. And we try to stick to that schedule, but some days, I'll even record it on a Wednesday, edit it, get it edited on a Thursday and put it up, and, something could go wrong. You never know. There's all kinds of things. It's a computer. And, again, raw and unscripted. It really is unedited. It's just a matter of putting in the B-roll. I'm usually not cutting throughout. Right now it should be a steady 32-minute run. I did have the white GoPro 13 stop when I was talking about the striped bass. So it didn't overheat today, and I wasn't putting up the umbrella to keep it out of the sun because of the wind. We got a nice wind out of the north today, and at least it's making for a nice breeze. And I figured with the cloud cover, the camera's not in the sun. So now you've heard some of the technical things that go on behind the scenes, which is why I like being in the studio too, because I get to use my Sony mirrorless camera and, different quality. But on the boat, I'm pretty content with just setting up the GoPro, and it's a pretty simple video. It's nothing crazy. And, again, raw, unscripted. And I think I got the intel right for the Hamptons, with an S, hamptonsshootout.com. You can visit that website. That kicks off. That's Monday to Friday, the 11th, August 11th to the 15th. And the captain's meeting is that Sunday, the 10th, at Sundays from 5 to 8 p.m. And Rich Lucas did a nice video for that tournament, posted it up on social media so you could follow them and check it out. And you could also head over to the website. And these are just more tournaments that we will be getting more involved in as we grow into our tuna fetish. We got the itch. We're in. And Kory and I are definitely going to be making our way out there to see what we can do as far as the poppers and the jigs, see if we can get it done. All right, guys, bringing episode number 42 to a close. Closing out July. No better way to close out July 31st and close out the month than with an episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. I did speak to Jacob. I am going out to sit in his oyster farm. We will be podcasting in the farm on an episode coming up. We're working on the date and the scheduling of it. Because like I said, next week I got an offshore trip planned, and I told him the week after that, this way we could schedule a date and a time, but we're definitely going to be podcasting live from Davy Jones Shellfish Company's oyster farm out in the Peconic, and super excited. You guys met Jacob on episode number 4. We got lots to talk about, lots to catch up on. Don't forget to visit the boys over at J&M Seafood. I have not seen Matt down here since the striped bass bite died off. Now, that's not the reason he didn't come down here, but it was just a matter of timing. Things that make you go, But no, he's the master of catching fluke, too, and black sea bass and tog, so he nails them all. He's not just a striped bass guy. I can tell you that. But I got to stop over there and do some filming at J&M Seafood, too. We love all the sponsors that we had for Bay Rats and Buoys' first annual Striped Bass Invitational. Rob at High Hook, Mike over at Compass Rose. I'm not naming everybody. And, Whale's Tail is another one. Great, Sash. And we got to head out to Whale's Tail, Hamptons, which I will be doing. I did speak to Sash already, and I will be podcasting from Whale's Tail, Hamptons. That will probably be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Very excited about that. We got a lot on the books, guys. A lot of things happening. I will keep you posted. Episode 42 in the books. Captain Gaige signing off. Over and out.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. Be sure to visit sandcitycharter.com and follow Captain Gaige on all our social media channels.